It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woo-hooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to the Having It All podcast, the show about what it takes to live an abundant, loving life. My name is Matthew Bivens, and each week I'm helping you get out of your head so that you can truly have it all. Let's do it. What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Having It All podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Bivens, also a balanced lifestyle coach. Also here to help hold the space and facilitate conversations about living an abundant, loving life. And today I'm very, very excited. I think I'm stuttering and stammering a little bit. Maybe I'm a little nervous because I'm sitting across from a gorgeous queen who's sipping on tea right now. And I haven't been joined on the podcast by somebody in a long time. And so I'm very, very happy and excited to have my queen on the show today. What's up, Mama?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
You got me flustered when I was doing my intro.
When you were facilitating? Facilitating.
So if you're a first-time listener of the show, you welcome, by the way. First and foremost, welcome. And Sarah is my lovely wife, my queen, and mother to our child, Maya. So throughout this conversation, I'm probably going to say Mama, I'm going to say Queen, I'm going to say all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
you normally call me Mama. When I hear you say Sarah, I'm alarmed. It means there's
something's going
danger of some sort that I need to be aware of.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, interviews are, well, this is an interview, but having guests on the show isn't something that I do a whole lot, these days. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Not only because you're here, but because of the topic. We're talking about relationships versus partnerships. And we're going to talk about how those things, how they're distinct, how they require different intentionalities.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what they are, what the differences are, and give our own experience from having been partners for a long time, having been in a relationship for a long time, the sort of ups and downs of all of that stuff, and how to keep either or both from going stale and going cold and all that great stuff. Is there any other contextual things you'd like to add to relationships versus partnerships in this intro?
I think it's cool to imagine, as you were describing it, I think of a Venn diagram, of relationship, partnership, and then of course there's some overlap, and yet there are distinctions within them. And I think it's being aware of what those are for yourself, for you and in your unique partnership, because it's not going to be the same for everyone, but just to be aware of some certain things, I think can be really powerful and be really helpful in navigating those things to, make it great and make it joyful and to learn a lot from it as well. And I just think this is something that so many can get something from, because regardless of the classification of your relationship, there are elements of relationship and partnership that come into play when you approach different life circumstances or you're going through something together. There are modes that we shift in and out of, and you've probably talked about layers, or I know we talk about layers a lot in terms of the many aspects of a relationship that you can have. And so this is cool. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. We're going to have some cool examples, cool things to draw from our own experience. Some intimate sharing, some open, vulnerable sharing. And
what better way to,
huh?
What better way to, put that out there for people is the examples, because you can see yourself in that, and then you can also just appreciate candor and vulnerability.
Yeah. So with that, this will be an explicit episode, most likely.
Very likely.
Yeah. So I mean, just keep in mind who's around you and who you may want to hear these conversations, because we're just going to be raw and real.
Boom.
Yes. Okay. To keep it flowing on the admin-y type stuff, whatever podcast device you're listening on, take a quick moment and subscribe, rate, review, do all that fun stuff. I appreciate all of the feedback I receive through podcast reviews. I read them all. As you know, I give shout outs on the show, so you might hear your name shouted out. And I receive it, and I take it, and I do stuff with it when you leave reviews and you leave feedback. So please let me know what you dig, what you don't like, topic suggestions, all that great stuff. You can do that on the app itself, whether it's Google or Apple Podcasts or whatever you listen to. Or if you want to just reach out to me directly, you can do so on my email, which is matthew@matthewbivens.com. Or you can hit me up on Instagram. I'm at Matthew_Bivens. And I would love to just, like I said, receive feedback, episode suggestions, all that beautiful stuff. Cool. Ready to get rolling?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
Awesome. I want to kick it off with magic.
Ooh.
Yes. I don't think I've had someone on the show share their magic. I don't know. Have we done that before? Probably not. Maybe.
I don't think so.
Cool. So we're going to share magic, and each of us are going to share a magical moment. And we've had some pretty amazing magic recently.
It's a big pile to choose from. So.
Yeah, big pile to choose from. And just remember, everybody, magic is your ability to influence self, others, in life in an empowering way. And I have said it so many times in this podcast why it's important. I'm curious, Mama, why do you feel it's important to acknowledge magic?
Why do I feel it's important to acknowledge magic? Because I think it's in the acknowledgement of things that keeps the awareness of it, and then it's top of mind. And so then you're experiencing more of it, seemingly. And it's kind of like you become aware of a car and its color, like a yellow Volkswagen Beetle, and then you start seeing them everywhere. It's that kind of thing. It's just what's on your frame of mind. So for me, how I look at that is by talking about magic more and more, it creates more and more of it. It's this kind of true law of abundance kind of thing. So that's why I believe it's important to share. And we now share it in our home as a family.
We do.
Maya shares magic and Maya shares gratitude. We're kind of presenting it in the box of gratitude, I would say, more, because I think she just conceptually gets that more than magic. Like, because magic for her is magic wands and things like that. So, in the sense of, so that she clearly understands what we're talking about, she shares lots of gratitude, and it's the sweetest thing. So I would, in addition to practicing it in your own life, if for any parents listening, I think it's a really great practice to have at the dinner table, or, when you're getting ready for your day, or when you're wrapping up the day. It's a really cool family exercise.
We do it at dinner.
We do it at dinner, yeah.
Like when we sit down for a meal, we'll say what we're grateful for.
Yes.
And then on Saturdays after our fun run, that's when we do the magic.
Yeah.
And that's been fun. I think for me, what's cool, along with watching her like get it and start to pull examples from her own life, especially on Saturdays, what's cool is when she speaks in front of a group.
Other people, yeah.
To have like a little 4-year-old stand up and speak in front of 20 people.
Yeah.
And to see her go from being so shy and not wanting to say anything, not wanting people to look at her or clap for her, to then say one word and then immediately start crying, to then go and share something fully. And it's been cool.
It's a range of experiences.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
So I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead, but magic within magic.
Yeah, go ahead. You share yours
with
first.
Maya, I mean, like I said, there is so much to choose from lately in our lives. But, I already mentioned that we shared at dinner. The other night when we shared at dinner, I was speaking and sharing my gratitude / magic. And Maya went to start speaking. I don't know if you remember this. She started to say something, but then paused, caught herself, and said, "Mommy, are you finished?" And I said, yes, I'm finished. And so I picked up on that, and I thought that was really cool. And then she spoke, and then when she was finished speaking, she said, "I'm complete." And we say that, that's what we say when, because we're in a lot of meetings, we're in a lot of conversations at times where, it's funny, before this practice, you kind of wonder, how did conversations flow and stuff, because you don't know when someone's done speaking, or, you speak over each other, this or that. So a lot of times when we're having very intentional conversations, if someone's sharing, when they're finished, we say, I'm complete. And then the next person will go on or whatnot. And so just to see her pick up on that and adopt that for herself, and it just seemed so grown up, and it just seemed so mature. And I was just really taken aback by that. I thought it was just so cool. So that is magic. And then of our recent life magic, I'm sure you're going to share some bits of it, but I'll just say that we had a long drive the other day, and I influenced myself in a very powerful way to stay awake and alert and keep us safe. And I drove most of the way while you slept and Maya slept. And I listened to podcasts and I chilled. And that was cool for me to feel like I could, contribute in that way to the experience and to the group by bringing us home, bringing us on that long stretch into the wee hours in the dark and driving on the highway. So that was cool for me. And so much of the experience that preceded that was amazing as well.
Yeah. And so we won't just leave it at that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So we just got back from a trip down to the beach, went to Florida. And we had a 6.5 hour drive down to a beach in Florida. We had an awesome Airbnb, real quiet little town.
Yeah.
The beaches were empty, which was wonderful. We just enjoyed one another
just that water
for like those 4 days. And then we do what we did, get spontaneous. And we love Disney. We're big Disney fans. So we thought, you know what?
Too close.
Yeah, we're like an hour and a half away from Disney.
It.
So we said, why don't we go to Disney Springs, which is the outdoor shopping mall with like the restaurants. And so we did that, and it's free.
Yeah.
So we just went over there one day, popped over there for a few hours, came home. And as we were leaving and driving home, we said, what about going to Disney World? And as soon as that idea went into our minds, we just got into like abundance
mode. Yeah.
And we were like, okay, so how can we make this happen financially?
Right. Because we hadn't planned on it. And so, we wanted to be clear that it made sense.
We didn't budget for it initially. And then we just started looking at, okay, I mean, that's one of the things I'm grateful that we do our monthly budget, because then we can open it up and say, okay, how can we move a little money here, move money there? Well, long story short, we made it work. And so on the last day of our trip, the day we were supposed to drive home, we actually didn't drive home. We drove to Disney World. We stayed there for about 9 hours.
All of our stuff in tow.
Oh, yeah,
we checked out of our Airbnb. We had every last of our belongings.
Yep, we had everything. Full car as we went to the Disney World parking lot. We went and spent about 9 hours just crushing Disney World. We're pros at it.
Day.
And with all the COVID stuff going on, it was empty.
It was very quiet.
It was so quiet. There was nobody there. It was amazing.
It was amazing. Really great.
And so Sarah's magic is referring to the drive home.
Yes.
Because we left Disney World at like 7 p.m. And then we had a 7-hour drive ahead of us.
Sure did. Smelly and the sweat film and sunscreen just caked on. And
So we had a full day.
Rolled.
We left. And so I drove the first half until about like 11 p.m. And then Sarah drove the second half. So that means you were driving from 11 p.m. till about 2:30 a.m., which was the rough hour. So that's where your magic came from, just being able to influence yourself to stay alert and awake. While I slept,
you slept.
I was so exhausted. And that whole trip was magical. The drive, both drives, from Atlanta to Florida, and then Florida back to Atlanta, that was magical.
We have effortless travel experiences. We all show up, and we have our great strong suits and what we bring to the table with it. I plan and think about things that we'll need, and you bring all the fun, and it just it collaborates really nicely.
It does. It's a testament to our partnership. Yeah. No, I'm gonna have a lot of great perfect segues.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want you to be complete with magic without sharing what you said was one of the highlights of the whole trip for you, a moment with Maya. Do you want to share that?
Oh, that was.
Are you getting to that?
Share, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I actually had 2 pieces of magic. So for me, the first piece is this moment. So I love the teacup rides at Disney, and I love to just get dizzy as hell.
And I do not.
Yeah.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
And so there was a moment where I wanted to go to do Space Mountain. So I went over and rode Space Mountain, and Sarah and Maya hung out. And so Sarah took Maya to the teacups. So I arrived.
I love my daughter.
Huh?
Because I love my daughter.
Because Sarah doesn't do that ride, but Maya wanted to. So I ended up meeting them over there, and I'm watching you guys spin around, or not even spin, because he didn't spin it at all. So they were the only cup that wasn't spinning. It was pretty funny. But when you guys got off, I asked Maya if she wanted to go again, because I wanted to take her and spin like crazy and do all that. I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, do you want to go? And she said no. And I asked her a second time.
You asked
sure?
multiple times.
I probably asked her 2 or 3 times, like, Maya, are you sure you don't want to go? Because Daddy wants to spin you and we're going to have fun. She's like, no. And then after maybe the 3rd time she said no, I made an audible like, okay. And she heard that. And so when she heard me go, she asked me, what was that, Daddy? She said, like, what was that noise? And I said, oh, well, Daddy just wanted to take you on the ride, but it's okay. And she said, let me see if I can get it right. Do you remember exactly what she said? I'll take a stab at it. She said something like, I really don't want to go, Daddy, but I will because I know you want to.
She said, I want to make you happy.
Because I want to make you happy. Yeah, so she heard
or
me.
I know it'll make you happy.
Yeah. So she heard me kind of give my like, okay, I guess we're not going to go. And she said, I really don't want to go, Daddy, but I will because I know it'll make you happy. And let me tell you, my heart just bust out of my chest in that moment.
Yeah.
I scooped her up. I gave her the biggest hug. I was like, Maya, Joe, you have no idea how tender and sweet hearing that was.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I said, we don't have to go. We won't go. But thank you so much for saying that. It was like this amazingly sweet moment that, again, speaking to how kids will say and do these things that are beyond their years of maturity, of wisdom, whatever it is. They're just those moments you're like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? It was so sweet.
Yeah.
It was so sweet. So we did not go on the ride, and I didn't need to after receiving that.
Yeah.
My second piece of magic, final piece of magic, again, has to do with the relationship versus partnership. We hadn't connected intimately throughout our trip, which is not typical for us. Meaning,
specifically, we did not have sex.
Yeah, we didn't have sex.
Have sexual relations, lovemaking, intercourse, etc.
Yes. For how many days?
Almost a week. So
About a week
from right before we left till we got back, and that's probably why my voice is. I feel like my voice is a little bit more mellow right now. I think I'm a little sex drunk.
So we hadn't had sex, and we didn't really have a whole lot of physical intimacy
throughout the trip, which is understandable. We were, on doing like a vacation thing, and when you have a child, you have to take. It's a whole interesting
there's
ball
always,
game.
There's always things that you got to pack, and plans change, and by the end of the day, we're exhausted. And the only time that we had together was after she would go to bed.
Yeah,
which is she'd go to bed at later
than usual. Yeah.
So we would have like an hour to 2 hour window at the end of the day, and we're tired and we're sun-baked, and sometimes just getting the energy together to make love was tough.
Which, just sidebar real quick, one of the things I walked away from this vacation with, particularly in this one, because it's been a while since we've been on vacation, and with Maya just being at the age that she was at, maybe I was just more aware of this, the appreciation I have for my parents taking our asses anywhere on any kind of vacation over the years.
Seriously.
That you do not realize the behind the scenes, everything that goes on for parents to pull off a vacation. You just don't, I mean, just the finances alone to make it happen, you know, to create it and create an experience for your family. There's that. But then there's, you know, packing up. How are you going to get there? How are you going to feed everyone? How are you going to keep everyone clean and safe? And just, it is a lot. So
a lot of logistics.
I don't personally relate to it like we didn't have a vacation, you know, because I'm sure there's phrases like parenting on vacation is not a vacation, you know, or blah, 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 whatever. I wouldn't go that far. However, I am just very aware of the nuances of it all. And so I just have such great appreciation for my parents taking us on any vacation.
Absolutely.
And I have so much respect for any parents doing any kind of vacation ever. And, you know, I just can hope that every person, when they become an adult, whether they have kids or not, can gain some sort of access to that insight to have appreciation for that as well if they were taken on trips as a child. Because
oh yeah,
my God.
I mean, my mom used to take us on these long road trips
by herself, right? The three of you,
the three of us by herself. She would drive us up to New York. We would drive to the mountains. We would drive to the beaches, and you know, we as kids, like, we would always get into some stuff and be fighting and all that. And she did it. So yes, to your sidebar. Yes. So much gratitude.
Sidebar. So back in.
All right. So back in. It had been a week since we had made love. Not a whole lot of physical intimacy.
And I would just like another sidebar or a mention here that the traveling, yes. And I was also going through a particularly tricky period.
Yes.
As in menstrual cycle, not period of life. So there's that as well. And we are not opposed to making love while that happens.
No,
yet
not at all.
Just that paired with a vacation, you know, that is a factor to mention.
So what I'm getting at in the magic is that our partnership connection and synergy was real high.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like if you had a checklist of all the things that make our partnership dope, we were checking them all off over the past week. If you had a checklist of all the things that make our relationship super dope, some of those weren't getting hit. And I, for one, was just feeling it. Like I was just feeling this stuff.
The impact of that.
Yeah. And then I think what kind of really got me is last night when we were doing the last little points in our balance chart, I have lovemaking on there.
So do I.
And I got none of those points.
Neither did I.
Yeah. And so I was just, all of that stuff. So the magic was today we had a little conversation about it. We talked just kind of briefly, maybe 5 minutes about, the fact that we hadn't connected and why, and what was coming up for you, what was coming up for me. And then we went and did this. We had an amazing interview earlier today. We took care of a couple of admin business things. And then both of us, almost simultaneously, were just in the space of, let's go make love.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have this opportunity right now. There's nobody in the home. We have all this downtime. Let's go and reconnect. And it was just from that moment that you first put it out there, and like I was tracking, I was right there with you. It was like we got back into that relationship sweet spot, just with the expressed intention of making love, and knowing that it could happen right now, and not like, let's make love tonight and it's in the morning. But it's, it wasn't like that. It was, let's go connect right now. For me, that feeling was it was like slipping right back into that amazing space of our partnership is clicking on all levels, and our relationship is clicking back on that level that where we thrive,
right?
When we're connecting intimately. And yes, lovemaking is part of that, but there's also other sort of physical, intimate connecting, and that to me was magic for us to influence ourselves to do that and to connect. And now I think it's so fitting for us to talk about this topic, right? And that's where it's like, perfect. I love that we have this platform to be able to do that, because, an hour ago we were making love.
Right.
And now here we are, like you said in that post, what was the phrase you used?
I said sex drunk.
Sex drunk. In that sex drunk space to just be able to talk openly. So I want to segue now into the meat of our conversation, talking about the difference, really just shining a light that there is a difference between the partnership and the relationship.
Yeah. And if that's a new way to even look at now your relationship, or to see what parts are one and what parts are the other could be a very helpful thing to just see that and help you navigate like, oh, maybe that's why we're not syncing up so well this past week, or maybe because we've had to be heavy in partnership. That's why, we haven't touched each other or whatever. I think it's just tools, right? And you can do with tools. There are many different ways to use them. So
Absolutely.
I think it for someone who just by hearing that within an agreement that you have with another human being, whoever you call them, however you refer to them, significant other, spouse, whatever, that you do have elements of both partnership and relationship. If just that alone is opening your eyes to, having a more effective way of going about it, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what I want to do in this conversation is, is share a different way to look at the coming together of people. Cool. Because for us, we started out with our friendship, and it was a working friendship in that we worked together.
Yes, we did.
So we had to be partners in a lot of things.
Yes.
And we had to rely on each other and communicate and do a lot of the things that we do really well today. Like we do really well at running our home, at running our businesses, at running our podcasts, at being co-parents, at taking care of the things that need to happen throughout the day, throughout the week, at communicating, at coordinating, at scheduling. I mean, we were rocking the single car for all those years. And like our ability to coordinate and schedule things and communicate was off the charts. And to me, those things, a lot of those fall under the partnership category. And so early on in us getting to know each other, it was about we met each other about 10 years ago.
Yes.
We were friends for 2 of those years.
Yes.
And then we started dating.
Yes.
So then the relationship piece, the romantic relationship piece, I'm going to emphasize that, came in, and we started cultivating all the ingredients that go underneath the category for us of the romantic relationship. And we've gotten really, really great over the years at making sure that we tend to the romantic relationship. And so I think when the concept of the difference between relationship and partnership first came up for me, I could very easily see the difference between the two. I think part of that does have to do with the fact that we do run a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like we run a business, we run a podcast, and then being able to look at how we manage the house as we run the house. And there's that whole aspect of what we do. And that can operate and really function well, even when the relationship is not being tended to in the same way. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, they are different. Mm-hmm. They are different. So for me, and I think for both of us, the way that we look at it is the partnership is sort of how you do life together.
But yeah, I like that.
Right? And that's applicable for whether you have kids or no kids, whether you live together or don't, whether you commingled your finances or whether you stay independent. It's just how you all do life
kind of
together.
Function.
Yeah, how you function.
Operate. Yeah.
And then the relationship piece for me is the intimate, emotional, connected, the vulnerable space. That the relationship is where the physical intimacy and all of those dynamics take place.
Yeah. I'm thinking about I'm trying to put myself in the space of hearing this for the first time and what I would be formulating, or maybe when I did hear it for the first time, what I was thinking, and ways that you might start categorizing based off what you just said is, okay, so partnership is kind of the doing, the brain, kind of more mental driven stuff potentially. And even to some might seem like, okay, well, that's the boring stuff, and then for, the other side, the relationship, that could seem, okay, that's the more heart-centered, that's the more romantic, that's the more emotionally driven part of that. So I'm just sharing that because that's what I'm thinking could be the initial thoughts to breaking that down or processing that. And some of those things could be accurate for, you or not. But I think they are both very important despite their distinctions. And I think they can play off each other.
Yes.
And I think one can be swayed or impacted by the other, almost like
Yes.
they're on an axle, and one's a wheel on one side and the other is on the other. And yeah, I just think that there is a inextricable link between the two.
Will you describe the link as you experience it? Because I'm clear as to how I experience that link. How do you experience it?
So I think it could go either way. So I think, kind of going along the example of what you've talked about, if you're just really focused on the partnership aspect of your relationship.
Maybe we should come up with a different.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. We shouldn't say relationship if we're saying partnership and relationship.
Togetherness.
You could say
union.
That's funny. Your
coupling.
Your coupling. Do we want to go with that? Your coupling. I mean, I like agreement, but
cool.
Okay, so I'll go with agreement. So in everyone's particular agreement, I think I got off track for a second. You asked me, how do I experience the link? What is that? Okay, fair.
The link.
So if you're very focused on the partnership aspects of your agreement, I just think you can get totally in that headspace, and you can get, I mean, how it can look like for me, or how I could, what it would look like is just being super task oriented, super Google Calendar. When are we doing this? How are we doing this? Did you get the things for this? What are the details around this? It's that sort of thinking. And that stuff is important. It really is.
Yeah.
And yet, I think too much emphasis and focus on that, all the time gets eaten up, and all the priorities kind of get shifted around to where that intimate connection can be more difficult to cultivate. I feel like intimacy is one of those plants that needs constant watering, and you can forget about it. And for that longer period of time that you forget about it, it can be that much harder to get it springing back up again, to take it from, dry and shriveled to lush. So then on the flip of that, though, I believe if you're just focused on being in a relationship, if you're just focused on what that means to you or what that looks like, I think that can be, and if you're driven particularly by emotion as to how you operate in your agreement, then I think it can be kind of messy. And I think it can be a little willy-nilly. And I think when driven by an emotional aspect of anything, you can kind of lose accountability. You can lose focus, I think, and how it would look like for me, I guess, if we were just so focused 100% on relationship. I mean, our businesses wouldn't function. Maya wouldn't have shoes. Like the grocery shopping sure as shit would not happen. So just things like that. And I think they play off each other in the sense that I think well executed and well-intentioned, thought out way you craft your partnership can make for the relationship times to be that much richer and that much sweeter. And then flip of that, when taking time to remember you are in a relationship, then I think some of the stuff that might not seem as fun in partnership can be really fun, because then I think you see, oh, if we're connecting intimately and we're watering that, then we're kicking ass on the things like business, running our house, making money, managing money, relating to other friends and family, like being a unit, being a team, being an entity is more fun, and you kick ass. So did I answer that
awesome.
well? Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was curious how you experienced that, and you shared. A lot of it was similar for me. I feel that it is so easy for the needs of the partnership to take precedent, because I think they can be so much more urgent and like in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, for example, we have a daughter. So when she needs to eat, or she needs someone to come wipe her butt, or she needs to get ready for school, like that's almost an immediate thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's important and it's urgent.
Yes.
And so it's so easy for the requirements of the partnership to be important and urgent, and therefore they can just run things, right? Like the podcast, it's got to go up on Tuesday. That doesn't matter if I'm not feeling like doing it, or if you and I are in a funky space. Like the podcast got to go up on Tuesday, and every Sunday we got to look at the numbers and do the numbers. We got to do it, and Maya's tuition's got to get paid. It's got to get done, and the oven broke, so we got to get the maintenance guy out here. We got to do it. So those are the things that are like those to me fall under the partnership, right? Like that's what we agreed to when we came together and decided to get married and get a home and start a family, and all of those things are constantly asking for attention, and so they can get the attention, and the relationship isn't doing that
it's
same
the leftovers
thing.
If there are any.
Yeah, like the relationship, I feel isn't calling out as loudly.
Yeah. So when you were describing all of that, I was thinking, the partnership stuff are squeakier wheels that you can't really ignore.
Yep.
And then relationship stuff can kind of go dormant. And
when
yet
it
when
does-
neglected, those can be much more painful to address. Like I'm imagining them like little physical ailments or something, like partnership things being those itches that you can't ignore in the moment, so you have to scratch them. But then relationship stuff can, all right, I'll go dormant because that's what I kind of need to do right now, but you're going to deal with me eventually, and when you do, it's going to be a big cancer to cut out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's how I see that leads me to how I experience the link.
Okay.
When we're humming in the relationship, everything else is sweeter.
I agree.
Everything else. And it wouldn't even matter if aspects of the partnership were bumpy and rocky or things weren't getting done. Like when you and I are just connected and that relationship is tight, like we could have a kitchen full of dishes, a house could be messy as hell, and we're going to be dancing as we clean it up together. You know what I mean? Because like that relationship piece is on point.
Yeah.
We're connecting, we're making love, we're having real conversations, we're physical touch, we're doing all those things in the relationship part. And I've just found that just ends up spilling over all over the partnership. I don't experience personally the reverse of that.
Partnership fueling relationship.
I don't really experience like crushing it in the partnership. Like everything's taken care of and everything is being addressed and all of that. And then that automatically spills into the relationship.
No, I wouldn't see it that way either. I agree
might
with
happen
you.
for some people.
It can.
It just doesn't. That's not how I experience
for us.
it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any scenario where it might or it could. I mean, I believe they are both vital. And if you look at it, if we're just looking at this singularly, so relationship to relationship, in this agreement, yes, starting with that foundation of what makes the relationship great then does fuel the partnership. So I would say relationship can fuel partnership. I don't necessarily think partnership can fuel relationship, but I think partnership can impact
Totally
relationship. That's how I would kind of look at it, that it's not at the core of juice in it, yet it can certainly affect. Because I'm thinking from my standpoint of things that are particularly important to me in partnership, like if I felt no support from you in certain things, like getting the groceries and meal planning, and because that's one of the biggest tasks I would say I have in the house, is I pretty much run all food related things. And if I just felt like I was getting no support from you in that area, or you just weren't appreciative of me doing all of that, then yeah, I could see that kind of making some withdrawals in terms of then how I would look at you when it's time to connect intimately. Like I don't feel honored. I don't feel valued. I don't feel appreciated.
Yeah, tank is low.
Right. So I could see things like that, but I certainly wouldn't see, I think we've established the point.
Yeah. I look at our recent trip as an example of partnership off the chain and relationship taking a bit of a backseat. And again, I know that happens on vacations. And it happens when we don't have the regular you and me time that we normally do in a week. And I think we crushed it. We fucking crushed it on this trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like partnership wise.
No, we really did.
We had everything we needed. We thought through things. We had space for just really fun spontaneity.
Yeah.
That because we thought through a couple things and we were prepared over here, it meant that spontaneity over there could just be like so dope. And we traveled well and we communicated well and we did so much more than we expected and planned for us to do.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
And the aspects of our romantic relationship that are so sweet and amazing and that fuel everything else just didn't happen the way that they normally would. And so it that to me just shows like, yeah, wow, you know what? It requires intention. It requires intention to do the thing that's important but not urgent.
All the time too. Not just, that was just a couple of days and you felt it, right? Imagine, a month, imagine 2 months of kind of losing sight of that. Years, sure.
And so it just reminds me of like, wow, when for us, when things are just left to be, like the partnership and the taking care of the house and the business, that all gets done. And the relationship can get what you have left over in terms of like energy and bandwidth. And sometimes that works fine for us. Like sometimes, we aren't as intentional, meaning we don't carve out the time in our schedules on a work day when Maya is gone to have just you and I time, right? That doesn't happen every week. We don't do that every week,
right?
But we'll still make it. We'll still like connect. Like today was a great example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a Monday. Maya's at school. This is typically a day we get a lot of work done.
Yeah.
Especially coming off of a vacation where we have all this stuff backed up, all these emails, and we still organically made time to connect.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And so sometimes it happens, but other times it may not, where we just get into work mode or we get into life mode and we don't actually make the time and put in the energy on the relationship piece.
Yeah. A couple of things came up for me. One, almost like a little action item or possible little exercise around relationship and partnership is looking within each of those things for you, kind of what matters to you in each of those areas, what's really important to you, and then what role do you kind of see yourself as within each of those. And I think that could, obviously it looks different for every couple, but that could even be something cool for us to do with this context, with this understanding that we have of within our partnership. Because I think we're pretty clear on a lot of the things that we do and the roles that we have, but even just re-communicating them and being clear on them. And maybe that could even help with some things like whether it's tasks in the house that we're both passively aggressively walking by and thinking the other one's going to do it or whatever that is, but just, some refreshed clarity around, what's really important to me in partnership and how can I feel supported in partnership. And these are things that I think I do really well in our partnership. This is where I think I really shine in how we operate and do life. And then in relationship, that's going to be all of your things like love languages and all those great other resources. Like this is what really feeds me from a relationship standpoint. These are the things that really, when I see them or when I'm feeling them, I feel like we're operating really well in the relationship department. And then what does that look like for you? And then what are things I can contribute to that for you and vice versa? I think that'd be a cool conversation for couples to have, is to break down what partnership and what relationship is for you, why it's important, and where you see yourself really shining within that. And then how can you articulate your desires as well as be a great listening ear for your partners.
Totally. I just put myself in the shoes of the person that was thinking what I would have thought a while ago. Like, that sounds like not fun at all.
Yeah. I get
to like
it.
sit down and make a list of things, and that sounds awful.
Yeah.
I'd rather just
wing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's at whatever level you want to experience your agreement, as we're calling it, you know, however you want to experience it. And if it works for you and if it feels great for you, awesome. And if it doesn't, then I mean, this is an option. It's a possibility. And one thing that I've had to kind of crack open like an egg is so many paradigms around relationships and so many previous thoughts and expectations and belief systems around what marriage and partnership and romance and intimacy are. And I think I've found that getting over some things that you think are kind of boring or the bane kind of aspects of things are really a lot of the times when you apply some discipline and consistency and accountability around them, they yield like the sweetest fruit. Totally. I feel like we just have to get over the fact that it doesn't seem sexy, you know, to schedule intimate time, or it doesn't feel like natural and it doesn't sweep me off my feet to, you know, have budget meetings and things like that. Yet I can speak for myself that with doing all these things that we do, that to me years ago would have just seemed like the most ridiculous things. Like you shouldn't have to do that in a relationship. It should just work. We should just make each other happy because we chose to be together, and we should just have sex when we feel like it. And that'll be enough. And I'll do these things in the house. You do these things in the house. And then that's it. Like, that's just what we do. Call it a day. But to get beyond that and get beyond myself really and ego and ideas of love and romance, I'm experiencing an extraordinary thing in our agreement. And so I can't deny that. And so I'm done knocking things that just seem different or weird or boring, because try it on, and it's working so far, and who knows what we'll iterate and how we'll shift. But I just think letting go of some of those ideas, because maybe that's not what your friends are doing in their relationships and they seem so insta happy, or that's not what your grandparents did who were married 57 years, yet who knows what was going on with that, you know. Time frame of a marriage and a relationship does not equal the quality of it. So yeah, I think to approach this partnership relationship paradigm means letting go of some things that are not going to serve you.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And I feel that I have totally resisted doing that type of stuff in the past.
Yeah, I get it.
Because I absolutely didn't feel excited about it. It felt like chores.
Yeah.
You know? And what's so interesting is I've been in the world of business for you know, a little while now. And in business and entrepreneurship, you plan. Right. And you think ahead about things. And you have visions. And you have intentions. And you work on it. You work in it and you work on it. And that concept is so familiar to me within the context of business. And so that idea is what we're talking about, applying it to your life, and in this case, to a relationship or to an agreement. Mm-hmm. You know, and even being in the personal development space of just working on yourself, you're working on yourself.
Right.
You know, you're doing this stuff on yourself. So if I had the opportunity to speak to my, you know, younger self about this idea of like, let's work on the agreement between you and your partner, on the relationship, on the partnership, I would just say, look at what happens when you work on a business or when you work on yourself for healing or for growth. Mm-hmm. That is how things get to the next level. Like that is how things improve. They don't just magically change and improve themselves. That's not often how it works. I feel like there needs to be some sort of intention behind it. And what we're talking about is putting that intention into the partnership / relationship.
Yeah.
And so this is me speaking to my former self and me reminding my current self in those moments when I don't want to have those conversations.
Yeah.
When I'm not really interested in doing the love languages quiz for the 5th time. When you know what I mean? It's like, or even when I don't want to do the budget meeting, even though we experienced the fruits of it 2 days ago when we were saying, what if we went to Disney World?
Right.
And because we did the budget meetings, we could go right to our budget, see where the money was, move things around, buy the tickets on the drive, back home. Like that was because we did those things.
Yeah. So
I had to remind myself, when you do some of those things that may not feel as fun or may not feel as sexy, as you said earlier, the rewards and the benefit and the payback is 10x, is 100x. And then especially if you're doing that consistently, like if you have consistency behind those types of things, like you can make it through just about anything. I feel like you can, I don't know. It's just, it's an awesome thing. So I think for anybody out there who's intrigued by the relationship versus partnership conversation, take it that next level and do like you suggested, babe, like sit down and talk about it. Where do you think your ratio is of putting your focus on? Is it more relationship? Is it more partnership? Is it 50-50? Where is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And think about the spaces, both, emotionally, energetically, as well as physically, that you are setting up individually and then with your partner. And what is that space conducive to in terms of what you are working on or talking about? So if you're setting time aside for intimacy, does the space and environment that you are both internally holding as well as externally, is it indicative of that? Is it relative to that, conducive to that? So if you're sitting down to be intimate with one another, are you both in a great space for that? Have you set the scene have you set the scene for that emotionally? How are you communicating? Where are you physically? Are you standing in the kitchen both trying to clean up after the kids have just gone to bed and you're, working on having that fun, just intimate, connected time? Like, do you need to sit down? Do you need to go outside? Do you need to change your clothes? Do you need, I don't know, just taking that inventory of what you are seeking to accomplish, and does that space provide that opportunity? So if you're working on the budget, are you doing it when you're feeling stressed out? Are you doing it, kind of haphazardly and you just want to get it done? Or are you present? Do you have like a tasty drink next to you and you're sitting comfortably and you're at the computer and, you've maybe taken some time to share some gratitude for one another, and then you go into that. I just think being clear on what it is you want to be working on with your significant other, and then is the environment that you are both physically in as well as what you are holding intentions for, does it align with that to just set you up for success? So at my 1 a.m. whatever drive the other night, one of the podcasts I was listening to was about Queen Victoria. And one of the big parts of her story, of course, is her relationship with her husband, Albert. And one of the things that the podcasters were talking about is, they had this very dynamic, very robust partnership and marriage and everything. Like, they were running a country together, many countries actually. They had 9 children. She was the queen, she was the queen by blood. And then he married the queen. So there were a lot of interesting layers and kind of juicy things to that. And at times they were relaying this based off of either journals or letters written and stuff. At times they almost had to stop and, okay, who are you talking to me as right now? So for Albert, her husband, he's like, are you speaking to me as queen right now? Are you speaking to me as my wife right now? Are you speaking to me as the mother of my children? Like, what lane are we in right now? What hat do we both have on right now to be doing what we're doing? So if, looking at you and me, if I'm in meal planner, chef of the home mode as we're trying to have a conversation about date night or, setting up time to be intimate, maybe that's not going to be super effective, you know, or if I'm coming at you with the lens of, you know, business partner, yet, you know, it's just being clear on what hat you're wearing and what kind of conversation you're having. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. Yeah. So I want to wrap up by sharing an intention that I have, because we talked about this a little bit earlier today. Just making sure that for us, at least for myself, that relationship is being tended to, like that plant, like you mentioned. You know what I mean? Because if there was anything that I think could have just taken our trip to the next level of awesome, our trip was totally awesome. And I'm just saying, if there's anything that could take it over, I think for me, it would have been me speaking those love languages of yours, understanding what would have been really sweet relationship deposits for you, and doing them, you know, doing them. And, you know, after our lovemaking not too long ago, we were talking about how incredible it is that we can go from 0 to 60 fast. Like, we can flip that switch and be in one mode and then all of a sudden connect, and just realizing like, wow, what, how can we, in those times that we forget that that's possible for us, how can we remember that?
Yeah.
And so for myself, in those times when I want to create all these stories about what it means that we haven't connected in a little while, or what it means that our partnership seems to be getting all the attention our relationship isn't. When my mind wants to go down the path of creating these stories and creating all this meaning, which then drives a wedge in between how I feel towards you and how I feel about us, I want to be able to like remember this conversation, remember what we shared after lovemaking, and just be in that space of, nope, that is like that switch is always there, you know, and we can always get into a relationship sweet spot, or I can always do something to move in the direction of getting into the relationship sweet spot, you know. And so that's my intention. My intention by having this come up in the podcast is that when I'm feeling the relationship is needing a little nurturing, that I act on it, rather than not, and put out passive aggressive signals to you, or just be passive aggressive because I'm feeling frustrated about something and just wait and all of that. My intention is that if I'm feeling the relationship needs a little something, I go and water it in some little way. And the visual that I have for us, I was flipping through Instagram the other day, and I forgot, it was like one of some dancer's page, and I don't know if it was his video or one that he found, but they were up on the top of a cliff overlooking the beach, and way down there they could see two people, an older man and older woman, at the water's edge just dancing. There was nobody around that man and woman. To them, they were the only two people in the world. There was no music, and this person zoomed in on their phone all the way to see that man and woman down there dancing, and that to me is what I'm playing for in that relationship that we have. Like, they could have been on vacation, they could have been in the middle of any other partnership stuff, but because of whatever they did in their relationship, at least that's the story that I create, because of whatever they're doing in their relationship, that dance is what they felt compelled to do, and they wanted to be in that sweet, synergized, beautiful dance of life together, in that romance, in that relationship. And I have that visual for us, like at the counter doing dishes, dancing together, you know, like those little things. And I think that comes as we make sure that we water that relationship plant just as much as we water the partnership plant, because we know that when the relationship is flowing, everything else flows.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts for you?
No, I think that covers it. I really love what you shared, and I'm grateful to be here and have this conversation with you for us, kind of, self-servingly, and then also anyone who can benefit from it. And, just, I find we have the most impact when we're just being ourselves and being vulnerable and sharing what's going on with us too, and how we process. I think we've done a really great job of that. You on your show, me on mine, and then anything we've done together. So yeah, relationships, agreements, all aspects of them can be really challenging. And I think anything that's worth doing, having, being, experiencing, it is.
Yeah.
It is. So I think if we can just let go of the stuff, whatever stuff we've had previously for that. Yeah. I said no closing thoughts, and yet here I am, like 30 seconds later. So I'm complete, to quote Maya.
To quote Maya. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, if you listening, if you want to share anything, if you want to share thoughts that came up for you, questions that you have, maybe you want to go a little bit deeper, or you just want to connect or whatever, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me. You can send Sarah a note through me, and I'll pass along to her. You can hit us up at matthew@matthewbivens.com. Or on Instagram, I am at Matthew_Bivens. And my bride, what is your Instagram handle?
Your bride? That's funny. I'm Sarah M, as in Marjorie, Bivens.
So at Sarah M. Bivens.
Yep, Sarah M. Bivens.
All right. Beautiful. I love it. I love you, Mama.
I love you too.
Thank you all for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. And I'm Matthew Bivens. This again is Sarah Bivens. And here is to you, having it all. Quick note about the Having It All podcast. I am not a doctor nor a licensed therapist. I'm a guy with a story and a passion for conscious conversation. My thoughts, opinions, and beliefs are my own. So please consult with your doctor or healthcare provider regarding any questions or issues you have related to your personal physical or mental health.
Why don't more infant formula companies use organic, grass-fed whole milk instead of skim? Why don't more infant formula companies use the latest breast milk science? Why don't more infant formula companies run their own clinical trials? Why don't more infant formula companies use more of the proteins found in breast milk? Why don't more infant formula companies have their own factories instead of outsourcing their manufacturing? We wondered the same thing. So we made ByHeart, an infant formula company on a mission to get a lot closer to the most superfood on the planet, breast milk. Our patented protein blend has more of the important and most abundant proteins actually found in breast milk. We're the first and only U.S.-made formula to use organic, grass-fed whole milk, not skim. We even conducted the largest clinical trial by a new infant formula company in a quarter century, with clinically proven benefits like easier digestion, less spit up, and softer poops versus a leading infant formula. And we make our own formula in the USA and our very own factories in Iowa, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. ByHeart, a better formula for formula. Learn more at byheart.com.